Hello, Capricorn, and welcome to your reading. This is Bright Soul Collective Tarot, and these are going to be your intuitive insights and advice for the month of March 2022. So this reading is going to be for Capricorn Sun, Moon, and Rising. And as always, the reading will be general in nature, so not all of the details that come through will necessarily pertain to your situation specifically. So I do highly recommend you take anything that does resonate for you, however that resonates and makes sense for you. Keep an open mind to anything that might be helpful to you during the month of March, and you can simply leave the rest. And so Capricorn, I've got your 3 oracle cards here. Then we will pull some tarot and some clarifiers, finish off with affirmations. And to get started, right before I take a look at the cards, I will share with you the channeled messages that came through. So when I sat down to channel information, this was before I even got any of your oracle cards out. So we'll see what that is all about as well. But yeah, I hope February treated you well. And it's my hope that we can connect you with some empowering information to help you make the most of March and whatever that has to offer you. So let's start with your channeled messages. I will say that the entire time that I was channeling, I was very much in my head about it. And so there was like a sense of overanalysis, overthinking, and then I felt like a lot of skepticism. So it's kind of like the messages that were coming through, I almost didn't trust them, or I almost was like, I have to really like make sure that I feel as though this makes sense. And that's not like usually a thing. I feel like I can get into my own head from time to time, but generally once I get into the swing of things, channeling information, I just kind of get into a state of flow. And so you may be prone to overthinking, maybe overanalyzing a situation, perhaps being a little bit too skeptical, maybe coming in to situations like already having a certain idea or a certain outcome in mind and not necessarily being totally open to like assessing as you go and really seeing the situation for what it is. So the first channeled message that came through was make me dizzy. And so this could be like literal dizziness, but it could also be confusion. Maybe there's just lots of stuff going on and you're feeling a little bit scattered and overwhelmed. Maybe someone is really confusing you or you're feeling confused about your situation. It could also be that like things are just going round and round and things are not necessarily resolving. So you're stuck in some like cyclical like energy or feedback loops. The next thing that came through is freakishly good. So that could literally apply to anything. I just think it's a weird way to explain something. So obviously, like maybe you're interacting or you're experiencing something that is unexpectedly good or enjoyable. The next thing that came up was end game. So end game could be about, getting serious about your goals, what you're looking for. Really buckling down in terms of what direction you're trying to go in, what you're trying to manifest. Could also be the movie Avengers Endgame. I don't know. And then the next thing that came to mind was every time I look at you, I go blind, which is a song. I don't recall who it's by. I don't know if that might have some significance to you. The song itself, the artist, the lyrics, or maybe that like brings something up in you. I have no clue what that could be. The next thing that came up was mixology and cocktails. So perhaps that's something that you have an interest in. Maybe it's something that you want to try your hand at or something that you already do. It could be finding a really cool bar that has neat cocktails or whatever. I thought that was kind of neat. The next thing that came through is giving new life. And so I kind of sense that there might be the opportunity for you to have some major shifts in perspective in terms of how you're understanding the world around you, your experiences, other people. It could also be that something that was kind of stale and stagnant and not moving forward kind of has a new lease on life. And that could be anything. That could be an interest, a hobby, a job, a relationship. It could be a belief system, anything like that. The next thing that came through was ranch dressing. And I don't really eat ranch dressing. That's not, like, I did at one point in my life, but that's not really a thing for me. So I thought that was a very unique message to come through. I never think about ranch dressing, so maybe that has some significance to you. Maybe you really love it. I don't know. And then the next thought was, why can't I do this? So maybe you're feeling a little bit discouraged. Maybe you're encountering some resistance in terms of the things that you're trying to create or build or bring into your life, some kind of outcome that is just eluding you. So just to be aware of that. And then the next thing that came through was make me, like a challenge. And it kind of reminded me of like, you know, disagreements between siblings when it's like, oh, shut up. And then you respond with like, make me, right? So it had like a very lighthearted, playful, childlike kind of energy to it. So I don't know, maybe you've got relationships where that kind of energy is regular. Maybe you're just being coy. I have no idea. And then the next thing was, I have a million things to do. So you Capricorns are known for being hardworking individuals who've got a lot on the go, and they're focused and driven and ambitious. So you may feel like you do have a lot on your plate, and it could be overwhelming, or it could be that you've got so much going on that it might be a struggle to prioritize the things that are most important to you, or the things that you want to enjoy. And the thing that came to mind when this message came through is just making sure that, yes, like it's all well and fine to be busy, and, you know, totally, there's only so much that we can do in a day, and all we can do is our best to use our resources efficiently and, you know, make sure that we're finding a balance for ourselves. But it's making sure that if you do have a lot going on and you are really busy, that you're not using that as an excuse to not be present, either with people, with certain experiences, maybe at work, maybe in relationships, maybe with family. It's making sure that, you know, while that might be true, and that's kind of a part of life, that it's not an excuse for not paying attention or investing your time and energy into the things that are important, right? The things that are valuable outside of like practical like work and things like that. So it's just to be aware of, you know, are there ways that you can make things easier? Are there ways that you can increase your level of presence and make sure that you're not overdoing it in terms of prioritizing one thing versus the other, or maybe being unavailable because you're prioritizing work. The next thing that came through is don't drink the water. So I don't know, now that I say it out loud, it sounds kind of like foreboding, but I have no idea what that could mean. Maybe you're going to go on a trip to, you know, a tropical country, and that's going to be a theme. I have no clue. And then the last thing that came through is everything's going to be all right. So I don't know. I feel like maybe you already kind of know this in spite of the fact that you're struggling. Maybe you're trying to connect more with this energy to help you get through anything that might be feeling stagnant or blocked. So however that applies to you, we will get into your oracle cards now. So the first one you have is answer the call, and it says, what is your soul calling you to do? Right, next we have truth be told. Let's see if I can get this to stand up. Okay. You can kind of see it. And finally, we have the blue flame, which is spontaneous awakening, activation, integration time. And I believe Pisces also had this in their reading. So I wouldn't be surprised. You might even have Pisces in your chart if you're someone who's into astrology. If not, no big deal. Okay, so This is a really kind of interesting energy for this month, just from what I can see right now. I think you're really being challenged to, guided to, or like you'll have the opportunity to really start kind of developing the relationship with yourself in terms of coming to a deeper level of awareness of what it is that is most important to you, what it is that you're feeling drawn to. Because the sense that I get is that your energy might be a little bit fragmented. And by fragmented, I mean that maybe there is an imbalance, or there's a specific area of focus in your life in terms of where you're putting your time, effort, and energy, and you're looking for stability. And it's taking up a lot of time and effort, but there are other areas of your life that are just as important, that are maybe not being acknowledged or not being given the time and attention that they deserve, because they're taking a back seat to this one thing that's like most important. And I think it's really important to start evaluating what has shaped your values in terms of what you've prioritized thus far. So whatever it is that you've been the most focused on, why is that the most important thing? And why has that been taking up so much of your time and attention? And is that truly the place where you want the majority of your attention to go? Like, is it really truly aligned with what you want to create and what you want to feel in your life? Or is it just a part of it, right? And so, because sometimes what happens is like we fall into a pattern of focusing on an area that it's practical, or it makes sense, or it's comfortable for us, or we feel more supported to undertake that specific type of work as opposed to the other. So the question is, like, what is your soul calling you to do, right? Because if you're driven by work and duty and, you know, establishing yourself in the world, which it is very much Capricorn energy, is like, you know, work, focus on work, practical things, and like learning and working hard and doing things well, which is great energy. And it's wonderful. It means that you guys are really often like wonderful manifestors, because you're able to really exert your will and translate that into something physical in the material world. And so this is more about giving yourself a break from the day-to-day and the work, you know, the grind, the things you're trying to achieve, especially like in the physical world. And take a look under the surface in terms of like what you're really feeling drawn to. And once you take some time to sit with yourself and figure out, like, you know, what do I really love? What do I really enjoy? What do I really feel called to do? What's one thing that I would love to do, and like maybe I feel like I can't, right? And so it's about giving yourself the opportunity to dream and to connect with those desires, like whatever your heart longs for. And I feel like you probably already know what that is. There's likely multiple things, but there's probably one really big thing that's most important to you, that you're really focused on, you're really longing for, and maybe you just don't quite have yet, or you haven't quite gotten there. And so I think it's important to connect with that information and to connect with the, like, what's motivating that, right? And why do you want it? And why is it important to you? And what steps have you been taking to get there, you know? And it's like, do you have any blocks around it? Are you prioritizing it? Because this is basically saying it's really difficult to get what you want if you don't know what it is, but then also if you don't value it and prioritize it and work toward it. And ultimately, if that longing is there right now, if you continue to do what you're doing and not necessarily focus on connecting with that energy and moving toward those goals or dreams that you're longing for, that longing feeling is not likely to go away. It's probably just going to intensify. And so it's basically saying, like, you're feeling drawn to whatever that is, and that's important to you for a reason. And so you totally deserve to explore that. You totally deserve to prioritize it. It doesn't have to be your main area of focus, and you don't have to be completely, overcome by focusing only on that, but it is something important and it does deserve your time and attention. And so it's important to kind of discover if there are any blocks, if there are any values that you're holding on to that are keeping you from really connecting to what your soul is calling you to do, if there are any stories you're telling yourself about what is or isn't possible. It's like really just kind of investigating if it's important to you and you want it. How close are you to getting it? What are you doing to get there? How do you really feel about it? Like, are you standing in your own way? And so, for example, if it's a specific job, like what is preventing you from connecting with that job? Like, do you need additional resources? Do you need a degree? Do you need hands-on work experience? Do you need someone to mentor you? Do you need better work references? Like, figuring it out. If it's a relationship, it's like, how are you open to meeting people? Are you taking the opportunity to meet people? And when you do meet people, are you showing up in a way that represents who you are and what's most important to you, so you can determine if they align or not? Or are you protecting yourself and essentially putting limits on your ability to connect with other people and assess connections? And that can be romantic relationships, but it can also be friendships as well. And so it's basically saying, like, whatever that is that's calling to you, that is a part of you. It's an important part of you. And to give that a little bit more space in your life is only going to help you to connect more deeply with yourself. And also, assess your values and your priorities, and figure out, like, how can you give yourself a little bit more permission to acknowledge that that's something important that you deserve, and to start working toward that for yourself. Because Capricorns get it done. So whatever that is, you can do it. So it's like, if you've got the career and you've got the money, or you're feeling comfortable right now, think of everything that you did to get there. You did it. You're here now. You can keep going. You can keep growing. You can, keep working hard and getting promotions and finding new positions and all of that. Same goes for every other area of your life. Anything that you want to work toward, right? You are capable of taking that same work ethic and focus and turning it onto whatever it is that you want to create, even if that is a less tangible thing. So I think that's really wonderful and empowering. And I think the key to helping you do that is telling the truth, the honest truth. And so it's not just as simple as telling the truth, because truth is subjective. We all have our own truth. And it's really knowing yourself well enough to determine what you feel, right? And representing yourself truthfully, honestly, authentically. So first, it takes you giving yourself permission to get to know yourself on a level where you can truly be vulnerable with yourself. You can explore your thoughts, you can explore your feelings, you can explore your desires, and you can start giving yourself permission to accept those things, right? Because this is also about acknowledging and identifying any areas where we're holding on to resistance or denial, whether we're trying to deny our own truth, our own feelings, and why that might be. So the stories that we tell ourselves about our values and what we think and feel, what would cause you to deny yourself? Is there a feeling? Is there an opportunity? Is there something that you're currently denying yourself? And why? Why do you feel you need to deny yourself? And just to kind of start examining why that resistance is there, because sometimes it's the things that, and this goes hand in hand with answer the call, but sometimes the things that we feel the most resistance to, it's just because we're scared, because they're meaningful, they're important to us, and that makes us vulnerable. So to focus on it, accept it, put it out there, and try and move toward it, it opens us up to the opportunity for failure, for things not to work out. And sometimes it's easier just to cocoon inward and not take any chances and not make any moves toward the things that are important, or not let people in, or not share yourself authentically, because there's an opportunity for rejection or things not to go well. And I think the really important thing to consider is that we're all just doing the best that we can with the information that we have. And even if it comes to something like relationships, whether friendships, romantic relationships, whatever, it's all about alignment. It's all about being able to understand each other and seeing those points of connection. And that requires you to be self-aware, to have a good level of understanding of yourself and what's important to you, and to be able to honestly and openly communicate that. And to do that from a place of vulnerability, acknowledging that you're not necessarily going to be everyone's cup of tea, right? And in general, like relationships, interactions, it requires compromise. Like you're not ever going to meet the perfect person who's exactly like you or who's exactly what you want them to be. There's always going to be a certain level of, you know, communication, working to understand each other, working to accept each other. So the same work that you have to do on your relationship with yourself, you're going to have to do with another person. It's just about finding a person that you're wanting to do that kind of work with. And that goes for your existing relationships too, not just, you know, bringing people in. And it goes for all interactions with other people. But this is especially true for existing relationships, ones that you're trying to bring in. It's really important to just be upfront and honest and to give yourself permission. And, you know, people might hear things that they don't want to hear, but ultimately it's more important that you're speaking your truth. You're giving other people the opportunity to understand you and to work with you, as opposed to shutting down or putting up walls or maybe trying to please others. So a person cannot know if you're a good match or if you're aligned if you don't represent yourself honestly. And so it can feel scary and vulnerable to put yourself out there, but it's keeping in mind that even if the worst case scenario were to happen and you were to be rejected, it's not really rejection. It's just a lack of alignment. And they always say like rejection is God's protection. And so if it's comes to be seen that there is no alignment, it's not a good fit, that's not a bad thing. That is a good thing. That means that you are being spared the opportunity to engage in an interaction or a situation that's not going to be aligned, that's not going to be beneficial or helpful. And it's going to keep you open for something that is better, something that's more aligned, something that's going to help you along your individual path. And so you might have to reframe your fears around rejection, your fear around vulnerability, your fear around sharing your truth and honesty. And it's like, what kind of fears do you have around being completely honest and being completely vulnerable? Right? So it's like, it's being confident, because if you represent yourself as one way, but you're really another, then a lot of times you're going to end up in interactions and having experiences that align with whatever you've projected outward, but don't align with you. And then that can be even more difficult than just saying, no, this is who I am. But it's not just like an arrogant kind of, this is who I am. It's being willing to kind of like share and be vulnerable and allow the opportunity for connection. And to recognize that speaking your truth is going to just take you closer to what's meant for you. And the interesting thing with the blue flame here, the spontaneous awakening. So it might be that as you kind of take a deeper dive into what you long for most in this life, what your soul is calling you to do, how you can start connecting with that, why you haven't been connecting with it, and discovering a little bit more of your own inner truth, right? What's important to you? Who are you? What do you value? How do you want to go about life? And just really beginning to embrace yourself and your own unique individuality, developing your comfort level with yourself, then you'll have more confidence in terms of displaying that outward. And that's going to bring in what you're looking for, allow you to connect with what you're looking for. And it's going to allow you the vulnerability to actually connect with the types of opportunities that you're looking for and to take advantage of that and for that to go somewhere instead of being guarded, right? That might actually turn everything on its head. That might actually kind of trigger a whole new level of awakening where you've got a completely different perspective on yourself or on other people or on relationships or on work or, you know, your beliefs around how things can be done. Because this is speaking to like, so awakening, we talk about awakening especially in the spiritual community. And a lot of people like to think that it's something really beautiful and like having an elevated perspective and like, you know, those mountaintop moments where everything just clicks and makes sense. But, you know, it's not, it's not really like that. It's more, there's a lot to consider, right? So if you are stable where you're at, you've got your own perceptions about yourself and the world, the way the world works, yourself in relation to everybody else, and then something happens that brings you to a whole new level of realization that, wow, that's not it. I've got a whole new perspective on all of this, then it's like, that's not where it ends, right? So you've got this whole new perspective, and you can't go back. Like once you have that perspective, once you've had that kind of activation, you can't forget about it. You can't go back, right? So you have to do something with it. It has to impact you in some way. And so then the trouble is you have to be willing to let go of all the things that you thought that you knew, or all of the stability that you had in terms of your perspective, in order to honor this new information. And then you have to integrate that and figure out, how is that going to impact your day-to-day life, and how do you bring that into your daily life and values? Because if you don't, obviously, if that information or a new perspective or a new insight is in your awareness and you choose to ignore it and to keep doing what you've always done, it's actually going to make your situation more difficult than if you didn't know, because you're consciously making the decision to cut yourself off from that important information. And so you might feel a little bit overwhelmed at times. So there's, and I'm not saying this is going to happen, but it seems like there is an opportunity for you to kind of get more deeply in touch with the things that are most important to you. And that's like on a deep emotional and intuitive level. And to really start allowing yourself to connect with that, to accept that that's a part of your truth, that's a part of who you are, and to share open and honestly. And this is like open communication. It's not having barriers to communication too. It's making sure that regardless of what you're experiencing, that you're just communicating openly and honestly. You're giving other people the information that they need to understand you. Because, for example, I think about stuff like ghosting. And, right, why do people ghost each other? It's just obviously either they don't want to continue communicating, or they don't feel like the relationship is going anywhere, the interaction is going anywhere. Maybe they have anxiety, maybe they just got a lot going on. But in reality, all these people would have to say is like, and I'm not saying that you owe anyone anything, but it's a lot more freeing for both people to have everything out in the open and say like, maybe I'm not interested, or I'm not feeling it, or maybe I need some time, or whatever, because it takes the pressure off of you if you speak your truth and share honestly, and it helps the other person understand where you're coming from, so that they don't have to get in their head about it. And it eliminates overthinking, because when you know what you want and you can just share that openly and honestly, you're trusting that you're giving people the information that they need to make the decision that's best for them, and then you can, you know, release yourself of some of that pressure, because maybe you put a lot of pressure on yourself when it comes to communication and meeting expectations. Oh, your first card is the Three of Swords. That's an interesting one for the first card. Your second card is Temperance. Oh my goodness, this is very similar to Pisces. I think would not be surprised if you may have some Pisces in your chart. Maybe you've got a Pisces moon. Oh, your next card is, oh, I like that, Ace of Cups. Very nice. And let's get you one more. Oh, wow, the Tower. Oops, let's fix that. Wow, bottom of the deck is Judgment. Let's move this around, give ourselves a little bit more space here. Okay, so Capricorn. Yeah, I feel like maybe you are on a mission to release yourself of judgment, of self-criticism, to heal the parts of you that feel like you're not enough. And because the thing is, if we're very hypercritical of ourselves, it's really like that impacts our ability to love and accept ourselves, which ultimately impacts our ability to love and accept other people and other experiences. And so if you're judging yourself really harshly and it's difficult for you to accept the parts of you that just are, it's going to be really difficult for you to be able to accept the truth and the vulnerability of someone else. And so maybe this is something that you're aware of. Maybe this is something you've been working on consciously or unconsciously, because it is a major arcana card. So it's a big kind of life lesson that maybe you've been working through, like just getting to a place where you're able to love and accept yourself a little bit better, or at least release some of the pressure and the expectation. It could be associated with other people's desires, other people's expectations, people pleasing. It could be like negative things that you feel or think about yourself that you've internalized or have been taught to you by other people, or that you've kind of absorbed because of, you know, difficult interactions with others. But yeah, the Three of Swords coming up here, you're being encouraged to come into this month a little bit raw and emotionally vulnerable, because the Three of Swords is about, it can be about heartache and pain and struggle, loss, yeah, like heartbreak. It can be a breakup. It can be some kind of major loss. It can also be about having really, really difficult, negative, critical thoughts, right? So it could be like anxiety, and it could just be that your mental state has been in a negative place and you've been kind of cutting yourself with your thoughts, right? Yeah, so maybe you haven't been being too nice to yourself. Maybe you haven't really been practicing a whole lot of self-love. Maybe you've been looking at yourself and seeing nothing but flaws, or you've been feeling really sad about, and it could be that you have been doing it, or maybe you've come to the realization that you haven't been the nicest to yourself. You haven't been overly loving and accepting of yourself, and you acknowledge that there are parts of you that you're having a difficult time accepting. But you're really being encouraged to lean into that, because this is a part of your healing process, and you have to become aware of the things, the way that you treat yourself, the things that hurt you and your thoughts about them, because sometimes we end up taking those thoughts and internalizing them and making them reality, and it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. If we think about ourselves as unworthy or unlovable, or we've experienced a loss and a hurt, and we allow that to set the tone for how we're going to move forward, as though that's what we deserve, or that's what's going to happen again, we can end up being really guarded and cut off from our emotions. So it's kind of acknowledging all of the ways that you torment yourself, your mind, your thoughts, your perceptions. They're hurting you, they're not serving you, they might be attached to hurtful experiences from the past. And it's just to acknowledge that although that is a really difficult energy, and we can feel really avoidant about stepping into it because it's uncomfortable, it's essentially saying that those experiences you had were meant to help shape you and help grow you. And inevitably it's to help you reclaim your power and to become more confident. And it can be hard to understand when we're feeling beaten down, and especially if we're beating ourselves down. But whatever that is for you, however this energy manifests in your life, it's giving you a very clear idea of exactly what's not working for you, what needs to be cleared, what needs to be healed. And so as difficult as it can be, you don't have to hold on to those thoughts, those perceptions. You don't have to hold on to that pain. It's asking to be healed, but you can't heal it if you don't know what it is. And you can't heal it if you don't know what triggers you. And you can't heal it if you don't know how that shows up in your life or how that manifests for you. And so your power is really going to be in, you don't have to sit in this heartbreak or this hurt feeling, because she's really suffering, right? And she's suffering not only because of what's happened, but it's also because of her thoughts about what happened. And so it's recognizing that some situations are difficult, of course, but sometimes we make them even more difficult by ruminating on them, or by, making that our reality, or treating ourselves poorly because of that. So it's basically saying, like, yes, it's difficult and uncomfortable, but your power is in recognizing this. And this has to do with releasing self-judgment. And your challenge is going to be keeping everything in balance this month. And so first and foremost, I want to say, like, in terms of emotions, I think, the practical, and then the the practical, the world of the scene, the physical side of things, and the metaphysical side of things. So like spiritual, kind of like in intuition and all of that kind of stuff. But like, also thoughts and feelings, keeping those in balance. And then also, I would say, because of the vibe that I got from the channeled messages that came through, it's also making sure that you're balancing work and play, and that you're not throwing yourself into being busy or creating an excuse out of being busy and using that to avoid the inner work that needs to be done. Because if you're going to follow your soul's calling, that's something that's deep within you. That's your heart. That's part of your being. That's part of your identity. And it's something that's very meaningful and important. And so it's really difficult to connect to that and to take steps on that if you're not taking the time to heal the difficult energy that's holding you back, or that's keeping you guarded, or that's obscuring your inner truth. And so that could be it. That's like, these thoughts are obscuring you from actually finding the truth of the situation and the truth for you. And so it's going to be about keeping everything in balance and making sure that, yes, work is important, but you need play too. You need rest. You need time to connect with other people, and you need time for yourself. And it's also about accepting your light and your dark and keeping those in balance. So we can't stay in a place of despair and depression. And we also can't be so unrealistically positive that we're not taking care of our day-to-day, right? So it's keeping everything in balance and knowing that you have the ability to. And being, this also speaks to like alchemy and transmutation. So it's taking all of those difficult experiences, difficult feelings, and difficult thoughts, and knowing that they don't have to they don't have to rule your life. They don't have to hang over your head, and you don't have to carry those damaging things with you, because you can transform them into something that's useful to you. So you can honor the reality of the situation, especially if it was painful, but you can also take a step back from it and revisit it from a new perspective. And that could be this, right? It could be that you're going to start approaching these damaging thoughts, these hurtful experiences that have shaped you and that maybe are keeping you from moving forward. Seeing it from a new perspective and realizing that, yes, while it was a negative situation, you're in a position now to reassess what happened and why, and to get something from it, to see its purpose, to see how it impacted you, how it changed you, and to see that, even in the most dark moments of despair, we are being given the opportunity to connect with light, right? And so we're learning, we're growing from that experience. And even if it's painful, something good can come into our awareness, even if it's just that we realize that we didn't align with one thing and we need to move in a different direction. So it's recognizing that you can take that pain and honor that it happened to you, but you can also use it to strengthen you and to help you move in a direction that is more true to you and your calling. And doing that, I think, is going to change a lot of things for you. So that's the challenge, is just kind of balancing out some difficult energies and not being avoidant, not shutting down. And also when it comes to communication, not avoiding saying the things that need to be said or being truthful. And you're going to be supported in doing that, because you are being encouraged, in order to kind of overcome this challenge of balance, is to just introduce a little bit more love into your life. Love for yourself, love for others. And this is about it's about a deep level of connection, love, compassion, understanding, being willing to access that and grant that to yourself and also to other people. And it's kind of like getting out of the critical mind or the overly practical mind and categorizing things as like useful or not useful, and really just recognizing that, you know, we're all here having a human experience. We all have highs and lows. And, you know, some situations are particularly difficult to work through and to learn from. And this is a new opportunity for love. So it's like a new lease on love. And however that makes sense for you, it could be your love for your hobbies, your love for your career, for family, for yourself, for, you know, relationships, or being willing, because the Ace of Cups is also being open to new opportunities for love to come into your life. And that's going to help you keep things in balance, right? So it's kind of beautiful because this is like heartbreak and this is opportunity for new love. And your challenge is basically like balancing that out and working through. So as you're working through to heal these difficult things, it's about still remaining open to love, because that's what's going to help heal you. Your own love, you know, aimed toward yourself, and then the willingness to receive and send love to other people. And it's not like this is a deep level of connection and meaning and fulfillment. Like it's a very satisfying kind of energy. It's not superficial. It's not calculated. It's not manipulative. It's not, you know, it's something really wonderful. And it's basically saying like, you have the opportunity to connect with that. Love is all around us. And the more I think that you allow yourself to recognize what you're feeling most called to do and give yourself a little bit more room for love in your life, the more you'll see the way that it's showing up to you and showing up for you and showing up around you. And it's being willing to receive that. And I think that might help lighten the whole situation, especially if you have a tendency to get into your head, or to like, you know, if you turn personal development into like a goal or work, and it's like, you're being overly practical about it, or if you're overthinking, it's like getting into your heart a little bit more, getting in touch with your feelings, allowing yourself to have honest, open conversations and moments of vulnerability. Because when you speak your truth honestly and openly, when you're authentic, not only does the other person have a better idea of where you're at and they can make the decision that's right for them, but in just speaking that, you come to a greater level of understanding for yourself, which opens up more doors and more opportunities, and that can bring you to a new level of awareness. And the overall kind of outcome, if you're able to really step into this type of energy, the highest possible outcome for this month is a real major shift. So the Tower is often known as like, it can be a loss, it can be a crumbling down, but a lot of times people associate it with something negative. But in reality, it's just a really transformative shift. So it could go hand in hand with this spontaneous awakening and having a completely different perspective on a certain situation, however that will, you know, resonate and make sense for you as the month goes on. But it kind of takes away everything that you knew, right? And that's why it's difficult. That's why it's challenging, because it might throw you off your game. It might shake things up, and it might seem really bad at first because you're like, wow, this is like, how am I supposed to handle this? But the amazing thing is that it kind of takes all of that useless old stuff out of the way, and it allows you the opportunity to rebuild something with intentionality, like with an understanding of yourself, what's important to you, your soul's calling, your own truth. And so it's kind of like, I feel like you have the opportunity to really do some healing and connecting and develop a greater level of understanding and acceptance for yourself, and that could change your perspective on life and how you've been going through life in such a way that it's like the cycle has ended and you are ready to just release and start new. So it's like a fresh start, which I think is really, really wonderful. So I'll get you some clarifiers. So we'll start with this Three of Swords. Yeah, because this is transformative. So it's basically saying, like, not to put any pressure on you, Capricorn, but this could be a really transformative month. And it seems very much connected to your relationship to yourself, right? And like letting go of judgment, healing any kind of like self-criticism, bringing more balance into your life in terms of alone time and relationships, work and play, you know, maybe like more positive and negative characteristics, and speaking your truth. And it's like you might find yourself in a position to really have kind of like a fresh start, and it might come in a very I don't want to say violent. Violent's not the right word. It might be in a really unsettling way, like very quickly, very suddenly, very unexpectedly, everything shifts. And that could be even just an internal shift. It doesn't have to be in your external environments, but it's like, man, everything I thought I knew is no more or doesn't apply anymore. And you're given the opportunity to really make more space for your own truth. So with Three of Swords, we've got the Nine of Wands. Not surprised. Okay, let's clarify Temperance. Your reading is giving me a life. I don't know why. Oh my. Seven of Wands under Temperance. Okay, let's clarify the Ace of Cups. Oh, also I must say, when I was shuffling your oracle cards, I was trying to get this card in the middle, which ended up being Truth Be Told, forever. It was not coming out. And it's funny because I was thinking, oh, maybe Capricorn's got some issues like with communication. Maybe they don't want to talk. Maybe they don't want to say what's on their mind. Maybe they're blocking themselves off from open communication. And then Truth Be Told came out, which is basically like, speak your truth. So there you go. Oh my goodness. More wands. Clarifying Ace of Cups. It seems like you guys are overdue for a little bit of passion and excitement. And oh my gosh, you can't make this up. Then we've got the Knight of Wands. Wow. All right. Four of Pentacles at the bottom of the deck. Yes, so I will say that because you had 0 wands up here and this is all wands, and we've got 7, 8, 9, and then we've got the Knight. Yeah, just in general, I feel like maybe you haven't been allowing yourself to connect with your passion, your creativity, the things that spark excitement and enthusiasm, you know, like play, the things that are, the things that light you up. Right? So it's like maybe you've been really focusing on work. Maybe you've been really focusing on like getting yourself right, doing your healing, doing your inner work. And it kind of feels like it might be a little bit like all work, no play. And I get the impression that to a certain extent that may be just because you've got a lot going on. But I think that also all work, no play is kind of your fault because I think you're hiding behind that. And I think you're really being encouraged to connect not only with love and fun and meaning and joy and like a deeper level of connection, but also your passion and enthusiasm, because the cards that are coming out here in terms of the wands, they're all kind of about feeling like you're on the defensive. And so even for wands energy, it's not particularly empowered energy. It's not particularly open-ended. So I will start off by saying with the Four of Pentacles coming out under Judgment, that tells me that like, whatever kind of release is going on in terms of maybe being less critical of yourself, releasing judgment, releasing expectations, like people pleasing, whatever that is, and allowing yourself to be who you truly are, or trying to work on your own self-acceptance. It seems like that was like really solidly tied. Maybe you were clinging to that as part of your identity or part of your stability. And that's why it's been a major shift for you, because the Four of Pentacles is the Miser card, which is basically like not wanting to give anything away or spend anything in fear of losing or being poor. And that can be in any sense. Like this shows up in the material sense, but that can be in any sense, right? In any way that you feel poor or impoverished, or you have fear about lack or loss. And it's basically saying like when you're holding so tightly to what you've got, you're not opening up, you're not able to receive anything, right? If you don't have an open, like she's got both of her arms wrapped around and then feet on these 4 coins. So it's like, yeah, she has those 4 coins and she has that stability, but if you don't have an open hand, how are you ever going to receive more? If you're afraid about not having enough or not getting more, and you're holding on so tightly to what you have, it's hard to get more. And maybe you realize that you were limiting your opportunities for abundance because of the ways that you were judging yourself and the restrictions you're placing on yourself. So that's really nice energy to be turning around. And with the Nine of Wands under the Three of Swords, it tells me that whatever this is, this Three of Swords for you, whatever that heartbreak, that pain, the self-criticism, the unhelpful thoughts that cut you down and make you feel crappy. It's like whatever that experience is, it's probably caused you to be a little bit guarded and maybe to put up some walls and be hesitant to really truly share yourself with other people, express yourself with other people, because wands are also about expression, self-expression, being confident and bold and inspired in taking action and expressing yourself truly and authentically without fear, right? And it seems like, because the Nine of Wands is also about like self-protection, right? It's not wanting to make a move. It's not wanting to open up because it's kind of trying to take time to strategically assess your next move in case you end up under attack. So it's like you've got like, it's like you're looking out, right? You've got one eye looking over your shoulder, expecting that you could be attacked at any time. You don't necessarily feel safe, and you're not necessarily going to venture out anywhere. And so I think that acknowledging how that makes sense for you and what that's tied to is going to help you clear that, like bring your awareness to that and whatever is associated with that that needs healing. And that is going to allow you to take that difficult energy and to be empowered by it and to transmute it into something that's going to help take you toward your dreams and the calling of your soul and your inner truth, as opposed to further away or maybe blocking it, right? Because it can also be saying like, well, I'm open and I want all of these things and I'm trying to take action, but it's not happening. And it's recognizing maybe it's not happening because on a subconscious level, you are sabotaging yourself or you're blocking yourself, or the perspective that you have in the way that you're treating yourself is keeping you from really connecting with all the good things. If you want all the good things, you have to deserve, or you have to believe that you deserve them. Taking action is not enough, right? So it's a really good opportunity for you to kind of embrace that, see what that has to teach you anywhere that you're feeling kind of guarded. And with the Seven of Wands coming out under Temperance, with the challenge being balance, the Seven of Wands is a card of feeling as though you're being attacked, feeling as though you need to defend yourself. And so, yeah, maybe this has to do with rejection from the past, or a fear of people seeing who you truly are and coming at you as a result. But it's all about the fact that you don't have to defend yourself. When you're doing what's right for you, if people can't receive that, that's not your problem. That's their problem. And I'm saying this when you're coming from a place of like, self-love and self-empowerment, not from like an unhealed kind of reckless place. But so it's recognizing too, like, if you're guarded and if you're feeling defensive, or if you're anticipating that people are going to be judging you harshly or coming at you and trying to like knock you off your game, how is that impacting your ability to show up in the world, in your relationships, for yourself, right? And is it really necessary? Like, what would it take for you to balance that out and to kind of have the confidence to know that even if some people come at you with these wands trying to knock you down, that doesn't say anything about you. That doesn't reflect poorly on you. It's not a result of anything that you are or are not doing. It simply has to do with the problems that these individuals who are coming at you have. So it's knowing that the right people, when you're able to be vulnerable and share your truth, the right people will see that and respect that, and you will have, more transformative interactions and relationships. The people who see that and come at you and challenge you, that just kind of highlights their inability to honor themselves and their truth. And so to see somebody who is showing up authentically and to be triggered by it to the point where they have to attack that, indicative of their own healing that needs to be done. And so it's kind of a reminder that even if you are afraid, or even if you have experienced that in the past, that has had nothing to do with you, and that is not your weight to carry, and to not let that throw you off your game and get you off balance. And the Eight of Wands coming in with the Ace of Cups. The Eight of Wands is a card of, you know, being sure, you know, charging forward, taking inspired action, you know, and it's moving forward quickly. It's not hesitating. It's not second guessing yourself. It's not overthinking. It's just saying like, hey, yeah, this is what I want to do. And I'm enthusiastic, and whatever comes, I'm moving toward it. I'm going to experience it. I'll learn what I need to learn. But it's not being shy about it. It's not shying away from it. And it's having the confidence to know that even if you don't know how the situation is going to unfold or what the end result is going to be, to step into your power, to be yourself, to align with what's most important to you, and to connect with love and opportunities for love, it's not going to steer you wrong. Even if you have challenging experiences, you're going to be learning what you need to learn. And so it's just not holding yourself back. And it's funny too, because the Eight of Wands is also a card of like communication, fast communication, things moving forward quickly. So it could also be the place where, you know, in terms of your communication with others, and the places where you're hesitant to speak your truth, or maybe you're avoiding responding because you don't know if that person, you don't know how to respond. It's like, you do know how to respond, you're just afraid to, right? Because you know yourself. It's just giving yourself permission to be yourself and putting yourself out there in such a way that people are going to be like, yeah, I'm here for it, or no, I'm not. And, you know, it's better to do that than to keep people wondering. But yeah, the Eight of Wands is a card of fast communication, things moving forward quickly. So this kind of gives you the opportunity to clear whatever communication blocks those are. And you might be surprised. So, you know, if it's something that isn't aligned and you speak your truth, then you might be surprised how quickly you are able to move on and recover from that. Or if it is aligned, you might be surprised by how quickly that opportunity moves forward and unfolds into something completely new and unknown. And finally, the Knight of Wands here with the Tower, it's basically like whatever is crumbling down, whatever this major shift is, it's going to be an empowering one that's helping you step into your confidence, to connect with your passion, to express yourself. And it's like to acknowledge the parts of you that are charming. Like people want to be around you. People want to listen to you. People enjoy your presence. You kind of have a light to shine that attracts people in. And it's not being afraid of receiving attention. It's not being afraid of stepping into your authenticity and allowing yourself to connect with other people, because this is also a very social energy. But it's like, and it's being able to connect with people and having kind of an enthusiasm and confidence that is contagious, right? That draws people in and makes them want to be around you. So it's embracing this part of yourself. And I think it's just reigniting that spark, and it's a new opportunity. The Knight of Wands is a fast moving kind of energy. And it's very passionate too. So you might find the opportunity to kind of shift things in such a way that all of the stuff that's been holding you back and tying you down to heavy negative energy might crumble away. And you're able to step into a place where you're feeling more confident and more driven and you know, more self-assured. Okay, so I'm going to pull you a few affirmations to finish things off. Gosh, yeah, the word that stands out for you this month is alchemy, for sure. Really like taking all that difficult stuff. So don't judge yourself for experiencing difficult stuff. Like, and especially not for expressing yourself or like needing time to work through it, because that's part of the process. And it's not you being a mess. This is you transmuting these experiences into something that's, you know, that's making you stronger. So to truly flourish is to release all the tension that holds me back from letting love pour through me. Yes, what is keeping you from connecting with love? Right? Prioritize that. I think maybe you guys are experiencing a little bit of a lack of love. So it's about letting go of the things that are keeping you guarded to experiencing that, especially if love is something that you want. You know, it's difficult to experience it if you're denying it, right? I can find peace in every breath. So staying calm, when especially if you find yourself in a place of spontaneous awakening where you've got like this whole new perspective and you're kind of thrown out of your element a little bit. It's just like staying calm, and or if you're facing like major shifts, that can feel really difficult. Right? So focus on your breath work. By spreading loving energy, I attract more love. Yep, that's it. If love is important to you, you have to give it to yourself and to others, and you have to be able to receive it. It doesn't just materialize. And so this is part of the healing that you're doing, is helping you get to a space where you're going to be able to connect with love. So it's not just going to come out of nowhere. It's something that you have to be in the energy of love, and that will be attracted to you. So that is the main goal, if that's a priority for you. And then there's always a solution of the highest good. And I think that goes really nicely with truth be told, because honoring your own personal truth is the nicest and most loving thing that you can do for yourself, but also to other people, so that they know where you stand. They can do what's right for them. If you withhold information from individuals, then it just makes it more difficult for them to ascertain what's going on, and if participating in that is going to be beneficial for them. So a lot of times we think about ourselves first, and it's like, well, I don't want to say the truth, and I don't want to say how I feel, because what about this other person? How are they going to react? But it's like, your truth is your truth. And if you're not speaking it, then you're denying it. And how can you love yourself and connect with love and the things that you want to bring into your life if at a very core level you're denying who you are and what you want out of fear that someone else is going to react the other way? And chances are that person is, even if it's hard to hear, that person is going to be happy to receive your truth, because they know their truth, and then they can figure out how they want to navigate the situation. And it makes it just so much easier for everybody. So there's always a solution of the highest good. Keep your highest good in mind, and honor the truth and highest good of other people as well. And I think this month has the opportunity to really, I don't know, help you get to a deeper level of connection to yourself. And you might be surprised how much things can change over the month if you start connecting with energy that's a little bit more healing, a little bit more heart focused, a little bit more emotional, because you can totally balance that with the practical, hardworking side of you. And that's what it's all about. It's going to feel hard to bring it into balance, and you might question whether it's possible at times, but you've got this, Capricorn. So I'm going to leave your reading there. I hope that you enjoyed. I hope that it was helpful to you. If you did enjoy this reading, please feel free to like the video. If you can think of anyone who might be interested in these types of readings, you can share the video or my channel with them. If you haven't already, you can check out my channel at Bright Soul Collective Tarot and my other videos, and you can subscribe to my channel to stay up to date on new videos as they're posted. So Capricorn, it was a pleasure to read for you. I hope March ends up being a wonderful month for you, and I very much look forward to reading for you again in the future. And in the meantime, I'm wishing you all the very best.